Hey guys, we're going to continue our discussion on the basics of taxes. Hopefully, by now, you know a little bit more about taxes than you did the other day. What are taxes? They're a sum of money demanded by a government to support the government itself, as well as specific facilities or services. In other words, if we did not all chip in our amount of taxes, then the government would have no income. So that's what it means by the government supporting itself. Who pays taxes? Taxpayers. That's the person who pays a tax to national, state, county, or municipal, which municipal means your local government, which is your city or your town government. Are you a taxpayer? Yes, you are. I'm a taxpayer, you're a taxpayer. At some point when you've paid for a good or service, you have paid taxes. Also, if you have a job, then you are also contributing to taxes on the income that you make. Community. Community is a group of people with common interest and concern for the common good. In the United States, we all have something in common. We live in the United States. Typically, when you're involved in a community, you are very interested in the same thing, or you have a lot of pride in the same thing. Like, for example, in the United States, we all have pride in our freedom. State. We all live in North Carolina. That's our common good. County. We all live in Pitt County. And then city or town, Greenville, Bethel. Like, for example, the big community thing this weekend was the Pirate Carolina game. So Greenville was very proud. Lots of community feel in Greenville this weekend if you were there. Lots of spirit, lots of excitement. What are the benefits of being a part of these communities? You get things like roads, public schools, libraries, police and fire departments, military for national security, recreation, parks and trails. Can you think of anything else? Start thinking about what are some of the things that we use based off of our tax-paying dollar. Be ready to answer that in a bell ringer this week. You are better off being in a community than by yourself. As a community member, you receive many benefits you could not pay for individually. Taxes are a way members of a community provide for one another. So, to put it a different way, if you were in charge of buying your own library, for example, you had to go to Barnes and Nobles and buy every single book that you ever needed in a library, that could be costly for one individual, especially if you didn't need the book, you just needed to use it for research. So it makes a lot more sense to put all of our smaller monies together to purchase these larger resources. That's what they mean by you're better off in a community than by yourself, because it helps you not have to pay for these things individually. How do you benefit from taxes? Okay, it's assignment time. How do you benefit from taxes? First, you're going to make a list of things that you use or benefit from that were funded at least in part by taxes. So you're going to think of things that are funded by taxes. Secondly, how do these items contribute to your well-being? As a reminder, look at the picture in the right. You've got physical, intellectual, social, emotional, and financial. Remember, we did all of these with the Cinderella story. So you're going to make a list of all of the things that you can think of that you use that's funded by taxes. You're going to talk about how they contribute to your well-being, and what would you do if you didn't have these items. You'll turn that in at the end of the presentation. How do taxpayers pay taxes? We pay through income taxes, payroll tax, property tax, sales tax, and excise tax. That's a lot of taxes. So when you hear your parents complaining about taxes, that's why, because lots of things that we purchase require tax. In fact, most things we purchase require tax. Income tax. What is income tax? Income tax is tax on earned and unearned income. So this is earned and unearned. Earned income is money earned from working for pay. Example, these are your wages and salaries earned from employment. If you've ever wondered the difference between wages and salaries, a wage is an hourly fee, like for example, someone working at McDonald's, and a salary is a yearly amount. Like for example, a beginning teacher might make $32,000 a year. And then that's broken down into months, where wages would be more like someone working at McDonald's may make $7.25 an hour. See the difference? Unearned income. That's income received from sources other than employment. Example, interest earned from a savings account. So there's more than just from a savings account. There's other ways to make money, but when you are making that money through a bank, an IRA, 401k, that money that you're making is also considered to be part of your income taxes. Components of income tax. Federal income tax plus state income tax equals your income tax. So, at the end of the year, when your parents are paying their taxes, they're going to have to file to federal and to the state, and they will either have to pay or receive money back from both places. So when you say the word income tax, you have to remember that's not just North Carolina tax, that's also federal income tax. Federal income tax. Tax is determined by earned and unearned income. Higher income equals more tax paid by the majority of people living in the United States, and it helps the operation of the federal government. For example, government programs, education, defense of nation, and disaster reliefs. Okay, so let me put these in some different terms for you. For federal income tax, some of the things that you need to remember is that this is helping things that are all over. So the federal or government programs like education, okay, defense of our nation, disaster relief. Disaster relief is things like when the flood came along and there were special programs that came in and helped with that. That would be an example. People that are paying these federal income taxes, the more income you make, the more taxes you pay, which that makes sense to some people. You know, again, that's one of those things that is kind of negotiable. Some people disagree with that and some people agree with that. But the higher the income, the more tax you pay. What's state income tax? Tax is determined by earned and unearned income again. Again, the higher the income, more tax is paid. This is paid by those living in that state with a state income tax. So we pay North Carolina taxes, not Pennsylvania. Not all states have a state income tax. It varies by state. And these are the things that are paid for by the state. State highways, operation of state government. The next thing we're going to talk about is payroll tax. It's very important to understand payroll tax, as we all will get a job one day. Payroll tax, a tax on earned income that supports the Social Security and Medicare programs, also known as FICA tax. This is a set percentage of earned income, and it's deducted out of your paycheck. So for example, every time you get paid, a certain percentage comes out for Social Security, while a certain percentage comes out for Medicare. So if you get paid $350, then that would just be multiplied by that percentage, and then it would be deducted from your paycheck by the employer. Now, if you are self-employed like my husband, every paycheck does not go ahead and take it out. What he can pay his at the end, and his accountants help him to get all that straight. Paid by individuals who earn income from working for paid employers. So in other words, you are, I think the wording there is a little messed up, but you are the person paying these income taxes to the employer. However, there's always a mix-up and a misunderstanding about that. Some people think that you're paying the Social Security and the Medicare and the employer keeps it. No, that's not the case. The employer's responsibility is just to take it out for the state and for the federal government. Then he has to hold on to the money. He has to manage his money well enough, hold on to your money, so that when Social Security is due for him, he has enough money to pay it back. So he has to hold that there in order to be paid in whatever time frame he has. When his business was smaller, he was able to pay it monthly. Now that he's getting more and more employees, now he's having to pay it weekly. But that money does go back into the Social Security and Medicare programs. It helps funding for Social Security and Medicare, just like it's called. What is Social Security? The purpose of Social Security is to help have income for retirees, people with profound disabilities, children who have lost a parent. Some of you may know someone that is in this situation, a person with children who has experienced the death of a spouse. So all of these are to help less fortunate people. The tax charge is 6.2%. The amount that I was just discussing, if I get paid $350 a month, then that would be multiplied by our 6.2% to figure out that we owe $21.70 to Social Security. It's up to annual maximum. Okay, this is subject to change before you're ever paying it, but this is the amount as of current. What is Medicare? The purpose of Medicare is to help pay for health care for senior citizens, and the amount for that is 1.45 of the earned income. So again, you would take the $350 that we were just discussing, multiply it by the 1.45%, and that would be $5.08 coming out of your check to go towards Medicare. And again, Medicare is for senior citizens. Make sure you put that in your brain, because that's a little bit different than the Medicaid. It's a different term, similar but different. Okay, the next is employers also pay Social Security and Medicare. They have to match the employee tax contributions. So when the employee makes the contribution, like here, $100, then the employer also has to make a contribution of $100. So the total amount sent to the payroll taxes for federal government is $200. Self-employed people pay both the employee and the employer contributions. This is the end of part 1. We will continue with part 2 in a bit.